Imagine spending like thousands of dollars on military-grade surveillance cameras,
Mm,
um, studying your best friend's daily routine for a month. Like you're planning a heist
right.
and orchestrating this massive public spectacle. Also, so you can ultimately write the entire thing off on your taxes as a business expense.
Yeah, it really does sound completely absurd when you frame it like that.
Welcome to the bizarre, highly calculated reality of digital virality in 2026.
Exactly. I mean, for top-tier digital creators, that
Yeah.
is honestly just a standard Tuesday. The level of operational infrastructure behind a 10-second video clip would shock most people.
Which is exactly why we are so excited about today's deep dive. We are jumping into a brand new 2026 digital guide written by a massive creator named Jerome.
Yeah, Jerome.
And on the surface, it's, a manual about prank creation. But stick with us, because our mission today is to dissect what Jerome calls the top 5 horrors every creator faces. And let me tell you, this isn't about, like, where to buy fake spiders.
Oh no, far from it. We are really looking at a masterclass in high-level social engineering here.
Yes.
Because going viral today requires a profound understanding of behavioral psychology, algorithmic architecture, and perhaps the most difficult skill of all, overriding your own human ego to salvage a catastrophic failure.
I mean, it's intense, and we're going to unpack all of that today. We'll look at how creators manipulate human fight-or-flight responses, the financial mechanics of a failed setup, and how to turn a total disaster into algorithm gold.
It's quite the playbook.
It really is. So let's start at the very beginning of the creator's journey, the setup. Because according to Jerome, the most devastating failure a creator can experience usually happens before the camera even rolls.
Right.
He calls this horror number 1, the 2-hour setup, zero reaction.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate anticlimax.
Right.
Picture the scene. You've invested heavily in props, you spent half the day setting up hidden angles, and the anticipation is just peaking. Your target walks into the room, they look at this elaborate trap you've constructed, and they just say, oh, cool.
It's the worst.
And then they just walk away. All that kinetic energy you built up just fizzles out into the void.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's unpack the mechanics of that failure, if I can borrow an analogy here.
Sure.
Imagine you are a world-class chef. You spend all day dry aging, seasoning, perfectly searing this incredibly expensive cut of Wagyu beef.
Okay, making me hungry, but yeah.
Right. You plate it beautifully, you serve it, and the person sitting at the table just stares at it, completely unimpressed. Why? Because they are a vegetarian.
Oh, that's good.
Like, your execution of the steak was flawless. The problem was that your target selection was fundamentally flawed.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. The dish wasn't wrong, the diner was.
Exactly.
And Jerome addresses this by arguing that creators fail because they assume human beings possess this universal baseline for surprise.
Which they don't.
They really don't.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is that the brain processes unexpected stimuli, surprise, trust, social cues entirely differently depending on an individual's specific neurological wiring.
Wait, so if I'm understanding Jerome correctly here, the prank, like the fake spider, the hidden camera, the elaborate trap that isn't actually the content?
Not at all, no.
Yeah.
The prop is merely the extraction vehicle.
Wow.
The biological, involuntary human reaction is the actual content.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to extract a loud, chaotic, viral scream from someone whose neurological baseline is to simply freeze or go stone cold under pressure, you've failed the extraction.
You've served steak to a vegetarian,
Precisely.
which is where that phrase social engineering comes in, isn't it? Because I always thought of that as like a cybersecurity term.
Yeah, it usually is.
Like a hacker tricking someone into giving up their password.
But in this context, Jerome is applying it to behavioral prediction. He advises creators to aggressively study their targets before spending a single dollar on props. You have to map out how your roommate or your partner handles minor everyday inconveniences to predict their behavioral output in a high-stress scenario.
Because you are basically hacking the human response.
Yes, because a failed setup isn't just a bruised ego anymore.
Yeah.
In the 2026 creator economy, a failed video is burned operational capital.
Oh, absolutely. You've lost money on props, you've wasted your editor's retainer, and you've missed an upload day, which, damages your algorithmic
Yeah,
momentum.
it's a massive financial hit.
It's terrifying when you realize how calculated the planning has to be to protect that return on investment.
It really is a business.
So, okay, you've mapped the target's psychology and you've ensured they won't underreact. But that brings us to the opposite end of the spectrum, which sounds vastly more stressful. We're moving into horror number 2, the prank that worked too well.
Yeah, this is where we cross the line from a failed investment into genuinely dangerous, potentially platform-ending territory.
We're talking tears, swinging fists. The target literally picking up their phone to dial the authorities.
Yeah, the real panic.
And Jerome has a very strict rule here. You must read the room in real time, and if the target's body language shifts from surprise to genuine distress, you drop the act immediately. Cut the camera. Apologize.
And his reasoning for that is rooted in pure neuroscience, combined with algorithmic logic.
Right.
When you execute a prank, you are trying to trigger a momentary startle response. But if you push too far, you bypass the rational part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, and you activate the amygdala.
And the amygdala is the brain's raw threat detector, right? The part
yeah.
that controls fight or flight.
Exactly that. It is an involuntary survival mechanism. The target literally cannot help but panic.
Wow.
And if you trap someone in a prolonged state of real fear or humiliation, the audience watching the video senses it immediately.
Oh, for sure.
They will do what we call ratio the video, meaning they will flood the comment section with so much intense backlash and criticism that it completely buries the likes.
But, I have to push back on this a little bit. Because if we look at the foundation of internet prank culture, say, the Wild West of YouTube back in the 2010s, wasn't the whole genre built entirely on that extreme shock value?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. The more terrified or humiliated someone was, the more views it got. So why is Jerome insisting that modern creators have to cut the bit? Like, why did the landscape shift so dramatically?
This raises an important question, actually, because it hits on a massive evolution in both audience emotional intelligence and platform architecture.
Okay.
In the early days, shock value was a novelty. But today, digital audiences are hyper-attuned to authenticity.
They can tell.
They really can. They instantly sniff out genuine, non-consensual distress versus someone who is just, playing along. But more importantly, the platforms themselves evolve. The algorithms are now actively trained to suppress content that generates negative community responses.
I see. So the algorithm is essentially acting like a digital immune system.
That is a great way to put it.
The moment it detects a massive spike in toxic comments or genuine distress, it triggers a quarantine, suppressing the video's reach to protect the broader platform environment.
That metaphor tracks perfectly. The platforms know that advertisers do not want their products associated with psychological harassment.
Right, makes sense.
So the algorithm financially punishes creators who cross that line. Jerome emphasizes that the ultimate goal is to take the target on a brief emotional roller coaster. But there has to be a safe landing where everyone gets off the ride smiling.
If they aren't laughing at the end, you haven't engineered a viral moment. You've just created liability.
Precisely.
The algorithm is quite literally enforcing empathy by tying it to revenue. That is wild.
It really is.
Okay, so you've perfectly mapped the human element. You know they will react, and you've calibrated it so they won't call the cops.
Right.
The psychology is secure.
Hopefully.
Right. But that assumes you have complete control over the physical reality around you, which, unless you are filming in a bunker, you just don't. Which transitions us to horrors number 3 and 4.
Yes. The physical environment and the technology. The silent killers of digital media.
Seriously. Let's look at horror number 3. The bystander who completely blows your cover.
Oh, this one hurts.
You are 30 seconds away from the perfect, meticulously engineered reveal, and some random guy holding a coffee wanders through the frame, points directly at your hiding spot, and asks loudly, "Hey, is that a camera?"
Brutal. It's just brutal. Jerome notes that literally every creator in the industry has lost at least one gold-tier, high-revenue video to this exact scenario.
Because public spaces are fundamentally unpredictable variables.
Exactly.
And horror number 4 is arguably worse. It's the one Jerome says keeps creators up at night.
I know where you're going with this.
You pull the prank off, you get the most iconic, incredible reaction of your entire career. The target jumped, they screamed, they delivered a one-liner that would have been a viral sound on TikTok for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
You pull out your phone to review the footage. Wait, no, we can't use pauses like that. You pull out your phone to review the footage, and the red dot was never there. You forgot to hit record.
It is a visceral kind of agony just hearing you describe that scenario.
I think everyone listening can relate to this feeling, even if they've never filmed a piece of content. So what does this all mean for the average person? It's that sinking, gut-wrenching realization of spending hours typing out a complex report, and the power flashes, and you realize you didn't autosave.
Oh, absolutely.
Or you're sharing a profound, quiet moment with a friend, and a spam call completely shatters the vibe. It's the tragedy of the lost moment.
And in the context of behavioral reactions, it is a permanent loss
Yeah.
because human reactions are entirely ephemeral. You cannot turn to a target and say, hey, can you be genuinely surprised and terrified again from the top? I missed it.
Right. Can you just scream again, please?
The authenticity of the amygdala hijacking cannot be faked on the second take. The asset is gone.
So how does Jerome suggest managing these uncontrollable variables? For the red dot issue, his advice is purely structural. You do test recordings, you use multiple redundant camera angles, and you check that red dot 3 separate times before initiating the setup.
Basic hygiene, yeah.
But for the bystander issue, the environmental hazard, his advice actually flips the script entirely.
He advocates for heavy location scouting, filming at odd hours to control foot traffic, sure, but the real genius is his strategy for when the environment does ruin the take.
Yeah.
He says you film the fail and you post the fail.
I have a question about that, though.
Okay.
If a creator's entire brand is built on being this omniscient, evil genius mastermind who constructs flawless traps, doesn't posting a video of some random guy with a coffee ruining your setup destroy your mystique? Doesn't it make you look incompetent to your audience?
Well, in 2015, perhaps. But in 2026, it does the exact opposite. Yeah. Posting the fail taps into a deep psychological shift in how audiences connect with media. When a creator is executing a flawless prank, they hold all the power. They're the architect. But when a bystander wanders in and ruins it, that power dynamic shatters instantly.
Oh, I see. The creator drops from being the mastermind to just being a frustrated, awkward person standing in a hallway holding a fake tarantula.
Which is incredibly relatable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Dropping the curtain and showing the messy, uncontrollable, behind-the-scenes reality breaks the fourth wall. Audiences today suffer from polished content fatigue.
Definitely.
They're bombarded with perfection. So by posting the failure, the creator signals to the audience, look, I am not an infallible content machine. My life is subject to the same chaotic variables as yours. It builds a layer of trust that polished content simply cannot achieve.
It turns a loss of operational control into a massive gain in audience loyalty. That is a brilliant pivot.
It really is.
Which leads us perfectly into the final horror. Because if showing your failure to an audience builds trust, what happens when you don't just fail, but you actually become the victim of the content yourself?
Oh, the ultimate loss of personal control.
Exactly. Horror number 5. The revenge prank that outperforms you.
This explores such a fascinating dynamic within creator peer groups.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Picture this scenario. You have a friend who is your go-to target. You have successfully pranked them 100 times. They generate great metrics for your channel.
Yeah.
But one day, they finally catch you slipping. They turn the tables, they engineer the setup, they film you falling for it, and they post it on their own channel.
And their video of you getting completely played does 10 times the engagement your videos usually do.
Ouch. It is the ultimate strike to the creator's ego. You have been entirely bested at your own professional game, and the algorithm is heavily rewarding your rival for your humiliation.
And Jerome's advice here is probably the hardest pill to swallow in the entire guide.
Oh, for sure.
He advocates for total ego death. He says you must lean into the humiliation. You have to duet their video on your own page. You must record yourself watching your own defeat, reacting to your own L.
That's rough.
It is, but he highlights that self-awareness is currently one of the most powerful algorithmic formats available. There is a massive self-aware audio trend dominating feeds right now, specifically because audiences adore a creator who can swallow their pride and laugh at their own expense.
Let's look at the mechanics of why duetting that video is so vital, though. It's not just about looking humble, is it? It is a highly calculated business maneuver.
Exactly. By duetting the video, you are mechanically siphoning your competitor's viral momentum back to your own page.
Wait, how does that work technically, like in the algorithm?
So the platform's algorithm sees the visual and metadata link between their original viral video and your duet.
Okay.
It functionally merges the two engagement pools. By swallowing your ego and linking your page to their video, you capture a massive percentage of their viewership and funnel it back into your own monetization stream.
Oh.
It is algorithmic hijacking disguised as good sportsmanship.
That is incredibly meta. You are turning your own genuine, visceral embarrassment into a calculated performance of humility, all to capture overflow revenue.
It's genius.
Earlier, we talked about engineering the target, then we talked about engineering the environment. But here, The creator is engineering themselves. They are actively overriding their own natural instinct to be defensive or jealous, purely for the sake of the algorithm.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights something profound about the maturation of this industry. Jerome concludes his digital guide by listing the business resources he personally uses.
Yeah, I saw that.
He links his social engineering guide for behavioral prediction, available on like beacons.ai for $3 to $5. But then right next to it, he links a guide called TikTok and the IRS.
I noticed that. It's so funny. He explicitly walks creators through the tax mechanics of this job.
Yeah.
He explains how to structure your deductions, how to categorize your props as operational expenses, and how to keep the federal government happy when you are generating significant income from these videos.
The juxtaposition there is striking.
It really is.
On one hand, you are hiding behind a door with an air horn to startle your roommate. On the other hand, you are carefully itemizing that air horn as a depreciating business asset for your quarterly estimated tax payments.
It's just wild.
It proves that the creator economy is no longer just teenagers with cameras goofing off in their basements.
Yeah.
It is a highly structured, legitimate profession.
It's a full-blown corporate enterprise disguised as chaotic, spontaneous fun. To survive, you have to be a behavioral analyst, a project manager, an algorithmic trend forecaster, an actor, and essentially your own compliance officer.
Yeah.
Jerome literally ends his guide with the mandate, stop guessing, start engineering your content.
It demands a rigorous, highly professionalized mindset applied to what appears to be the most informal type of media in the world.
Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground today, exploring the deep mechanics of digital media. Let's do a rapid-fire wrap-up of the playbook for anyone listening who wants to navigate this landscape.
Sounds good.
First, stop serving steak to vegetarians. Study your target's neurological baseline before you invest in a setup.
Right.
Second, respect the digital immune system. If you cross the fight-or-flight boundary into genuine distress, the algorithm will quarantine your content.
Absolutely.
Third, if the physical environment ruins your perfect plan, pivot, immediately breaking the fourth wall and posting your fails builds relatable trust.
Trust is everything.
Fourth, embrace total ego death when you get played, and duet the revenge prank to merge those algorithmic engagement pools. And finally, treat your chaos like a corporation, track your expenses, write off your props, and pay your taxes.
That is the comprehensive curriculum for modern virality. But before we sign off, there's a lingering philosophical implication to all this social engineering that I think we need to confront.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. What's the implication?
We've spent this entire deep dive dissecting the science of manipulating human reactions.
Right.
We've explored how digital creators are constantly analyzing their friends, their family members, and public bystanders to trigger highly calibrated emotional outcomes that satisfy an algorithm's demand for engagement.
Engineering the perfect startle, managing the amygdala, harvesting the laugh.
Exactly that. So the question I want to leave you listening with is this: how does this pervasive content brain alter the way we fundamentally interact with the people in our lives when the cameras are allegedly off?
Oh, wow.
If a growing demographic is actively training themselves to view everyday human behavior as a resource to be studied, predicted, and triggered for algorithmic reward,
Yeah,
well, what happens to genuine, uncalculated spontaneity?
that's a good point.
As we become masters of engineering human behavior for views and revenue, does the line between an authentic personal relationship and a calculated, monetizable setup eventually disappear entirely? Are we destined to always evaluate our loved ones for their reaction potential?
That is a phenomenal, heavy question to chew on. When everyday life is optimized for production value, it becomes incredibly difficult to know when the performance actually ends. Thank you all so much for joining us on today's deep dive. Keep questioning the content you consume, and more importantly, keep questioning the motivations behind the content you create. We'll catch you next time.